Revealed how a millionaire brought a recycling hero to his EXS engagement, and the amazing twist that changed everything. Jackson stood outside the grand mansion, his heart racing as the echoes of laughter spilled from within. He usually felt at home among the familiar streets of Oak Ridge, where even the trees seemed to whisper secrets about the town's residents. But tonight was different. Tonight, he would step into a world that shimmered with wealth and privilege, the likes of which he only imagined while sorting through bottles and cans. As he adjusted his buttoned-up shirt, he clenched the invitation tightly, a twist of emotion tightening at his chest. Sarah, his high school sweetheart, had ditched their modest life together for a life of glitz. He could still remember their days spent dreaming on the playground, plotting a future filled with hope. Yet here he was, the recycling technician, invited to her engagement party by her millionaire fiancé, some kind of cosmic joke. The moment he walked through the mansion's double doors, the grand chandelier sparked with 1,000 lights, illuminating a sea of designer gowns, perfectly styled hair, and an undercurrent of judgment. Every gaze felt like a pointed finger, each glance a reminder of the chasm that separated him from them. Jackson's stomach churned. He was out of place, a laborer among the elite. A saxophonist soothed the air with smooth jazz, laughter cascaded like tinkling glass, but it wouldn't last. Without warning, the lights flickered, and then chaos erupted. An urgent shout followed by a cacophony of gasps rippled through the room. Jackson's heart cranked into overdrive. A propane tank, meant for heating outdoor lamps, began to hiss ominously. Instinct kicked in. Jackson sprinted toward the noise, weaving through the groups clad in silk and lace. "Get back! Move!" he shouted, rallying the crowd to safety, feeling the heat of fear gripping his throat. In a whirlwind of action and precision, he used his experience to shut off the gas with a swift twist and pushed everyone farther from danger. By the time he turned around, he was met with an unusual sight, guests staring at him wide-eyed. The judgment melted, replaced with a flicker of admiration. Was this really the unremarkable recycling tech they'd all viewed him as? But just as the tension began to lift, the room filled with whispered judgments. "Who does he think he is?" scorned a well-heeled guest, her silk gown swishing disdainfully as she turned away. And just like that, the flicker of respect fizzled. "Nice save, hero," came the mocking tone of Sarah's fiancé, fixing a smug gaze on him. Anger bubbled in Jackson's throat. Just as quick, Sarah appeared by his side. The air shifted, the tension rising. "Jackson," she said, eyes wide as if she saw an old flicker of something between them, "you did great back there." Those familiar words struck a chord, an undeniable connection. But their moment was shattered by the fiancé's sneer, "Maybe your skills are better suited for the trash heap." Heart pounding, the old wounds reopened. Would they ever be equal in each other's eyes? These questions hung in the air like thick fog as Jackson confronted the bitter reality of what had been, and what could never be again. But just when he felt invisible, redemption sparked. Would he rise above the petty walls of his past or let them drag him down further? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With a fire ignited in his heart, Jackson took a step forward, ready to reclaim more than just his dignity. Would tonight be the turning point, the moment that turned the tide? Or would whispers linger, shrouding his future? The engagement party echoed with uncertainty, and Jackson stood at the crossroads of identity, choice, and hidden feelings that demanded to be unveiled. Jackson felt the weight of every eye in the room upon him as he stepped further into Sarah's engagement party. The saxophonist continued his mellifluous tune, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside his chest. A swirling storm of anger, nostalgia, and longing rose and crashed against the walls he'd built to protect himself. "Jackson?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper, a fragile thread pulling him back from the abyss. "Are you okay?" He turned to face her, the warm glow of the chandelier casting shadows across her face. Her eyes sparkled with genuine concern. It was the same look that had once melted his heart. His throat constricted again. "I'm fine," he managed, but the lie felt heavy on his tongue. He wasn't fine. Before he could gather his thoughts, Sarah's fiancé loomed behind her, all sharp angles and designer everything. "Really impressive work back there, but did you hear what I said?" He grinned mockingly, watching Jackson's discomfort as if it was the highlight of his evening. The rich laughter of his friends echoed like bells, bouncing off the walls. "You think you can play the hero? News flash. This isn't a movie, it's reality," the fiancé sneered, stepping closer to Jackson, invading his space. The scent of expensive cologne filled the air, stifling. Jackson clenched his fists, trying to keep the rage at bay. How could someone so privileged be so small? "Leave him alone, Jared," Sarah interjected, her voice firm now, yet it was laced with an undeniable tension. She squeezed Jackson's arm, grounding him. "He saved your party." "Saved it? Or just made it more interesting?" Jared shot back, the sharpness of his words slicing through the moment. A ripple of laughter followed, but Jackson wasn't afraid anymore. In that instant, he realized something: a hero didn't just save others, he found strength in the struggle. Jackson took a deep breath, stepping forward. "I don't do what I do for applause. My life is not a show for you to enjoy." The words were out of his mouth before he could stop them, rising above the crowd's whispers. He felt every pair of eyes snap towards him, caught between shock and fascination. Sarah looked at him with something akin to pride, and it stoked the fire that had ignited in his heart. The embarrassment was gone, replaced with a sense of clarity. "You think you're better than everyone here because of your money?" he continued. "Where does that leave kindness or compassion? There's more to life than your bank balance." The laughers quieted, uncertainty brewing in the air. Jackson's pulse quickened as he met Jared's steely gaze, absorbing every ounce of the disdain wrapped in privilege. "Enough." Sarah's voice rang out, slicing through the tension. "Jackson, you deserve better than to be treated like this." She looked at Jared, her expression fierce. "And it's time you realize that money can't buy morality." The energy shifted. Suddenly, the air was charged with a different kind of anticipation. Jackson felt fortified, emboldened by her words, by the flicker of respect ignited in the crowd. He was tired of feeling small, overshadowed by a world he didn't belong to. As the silence settled, Jackson's heart raced, not from fear but from the thrill of standing his ground. He faced each person in the room, letting their judgment roll off him like rain. But Jared was still there, seething. Just as Jackson thought he could breathe freely, a crash reverberated through the mansion. One of the extravagant centerpieces toppled over, champagne glasses shattering on the marble floor. "What just happened?" someone gasped, breaking the tension once more. All eyes swiveled towards the scene, creating a distraction that shifted the balance of power in the room. The murmurs began again. Jackson turned his attention back to Sarah, their eyes locking in a moment that felt electric. Would they be able to repair the fragile connection they still shared? And just then, he realized that perhaps this chaotic night was opening doors he thought were sealed for good. What if tonight wasn't just about the past, but a chance to forge a different future, a future that began with truth and courage? As the guests' conversations hummed anew around him, Jackson clenched Sarah's hand tighter. Could he finally show her the man he had become, the man who could stand strong amidst the glittering elites? But as the tension again began to swell, a startling realization washed over him. This was only the beginning. Would he take the leap of faith to resurrect something worth saving, or would he let the specters of their past loom forever? The night was still young, and the stakes had just been raised. Jackson's heart thumped like a drum inside his chest, matching the frantic energy bouncing around the room. The laughter and chatter that followed the crash felt layered with uncertainty, a collective gulp as everyone processed the scene. He looked down at Sarah, whose hand gripped his like a lifeline. "Are you okay?" she asked again, her eyes searching his for any hint of distress. Yeah, he managed, though the storm inside him rumbled louder than ever. The spotlight was shifting. All the attention was on them now, and even amid the chaos, he felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this wasn't just about old wounds, but a chance to redefine everything. He pulled in a deep breath. I didn't come here to cause trouble. I wanted to support you, to be a part of this moment, he admitted, the weight of his admission sinking in. The truth resonated like a note struck on a piano, clear and bright, cutting through the tensions hanging thick in the air. Then don't let him get to you, she whispered fiercely, determination flickering in her eyes. Jackpot. Jackson nodded and straightened up, drawing strength from her unwavering faith in him. You know, Sarah, this is your party. You shouldn't have to babysit your fiancé's ego. Bitterness laced the words, a taste he couldn't fully swallow. But now, he wouldn't swallow his feelings. He would let them speak. The air crackled around them. Jared opened his mouth, but Jackson shot him a look, not just any look, but one filled with resolve. This was no longer about seeking acceptance. It was about standing firm in who he was. Sarah, Jared said, trying to regain control of the situation. Let us not make a scene. Too late for that, she retorted, her voice carrying across the room. Jackson couldn't believe the change in her. There was a fire in Sarah he hadn't seen before, igniting every corner of the party room. People were leaning in, eager to witness a confrontation of sorts. It was like theater unfolding in real time when he dared to step into. As the chatter around them began to hush, he shifted his gaze back to Jared, ready to push back. It's not about making a scene. It's about truth. You hide behind your money, but it can't shield you from how you treat others. Whatever you're trying to prove, Jared rolled his eyes, the smirk plastered on his face, a mask that was crumbling. It's not working on me. Sarah released Jackson's hand for a moment, stepping between the men. This isn't a game, Jared. This is my life, and you don't get to dictate who gets to be a part of it. The crowd was silent now, caught in a web of emotion. Jackson felt something shift. The whispers of doubt faded into the background, replaced by something stronger, a collective solidarity that lifted him. And just like that, he found his voice again. If you can't treat her with the respect she deserves, then you have no place in her life. His words were firm, but there was a vulnerability too, threading through them like undertones in a melody. Jackson could see it in Sarah's face. A revelation began to dawn in her eyes, like sunlight breaking through clouds. He hoped she could see their past differently. Maybe they weren't done yet? Maybe this was the moment that could change everything. But then, Jared stepped back, his pride wounded, and the rich laughter from earlier died down. Fine, he said coldly, but don't blame me when you realize how foolish you're being. Jackson caught Sarah's gaze, the unspoken question hanging between them. What would it take to break through this wall of tension? Was he ready to risk everything again, to unearth the treasures hidden in their shared past? In that moment, a flurry of emotions washed over him: fear, hope, longing, and he took a step closer to Sarah. Did they both dare to reach for something more? Something real? And just as he opened his mouth to speak again, the front door swung open with a bang. In strode a figure shrouded in mystery, their presence pulling everyone's attention away from the escalating drama. Jackson's gut twisted as he caught sight of the newcomer. Who were they, and what would their arrival mean for the fragile truce forged in chaos? What was about to unfold, and how deep would the connections dig before the night was over? The heavy door swung wide, revealing a woman dressed in an emerald green gown that seemed to shimmer like the surface of a lake in the moonlight. Her hair cascaded over her shoulders in waves, and her striking eyes scanned the room, landing momentarily on Jackson and Sarah. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as if a pebble had been tossed into a still pond. Is that? Someone whispered, leaning in closer to catch the unfolding drama. Jackson's heart raced. He had never seen her before, but something about her felt familiar. The way she carried herself spoke volumes. There was an air of confidence, mixed with a hint of mischief, that drew people in. Then it hit him. She looked like a figure from a story long buried in his memory, a girl he had met years ago at a summer camp who had an undeniable spark. Had it really been so long? Who is she? Sarah asked, her eyes narrowing with curiosity. I think I recognize her from school, Jackson stammered, unable to tear his gaze away from the enigmatic figure. That moment of distraction snapped him back to the present. Instead of the chaos subsiding, the energy in the room swelled, drawing every eye toward the newcomer as if she were a beacon. The tension mixed with intrigue, and Jackson could feel the weight of expectancy on his shoulders. What new drama would she bring? Hey everyone! The woman called out, her voice bright and clear, cutting through the murmuring. She beamed at them, unfazed by the tension. I'm Ava! Surprise! A collective gasp escaped the crowd. Ava was not just any newcomer, she was Jared's younger sister, the prodigal child from an affluent family who moved to the city to pursue her dreams. Jackson had heard stories, a hint of admiration weaving through the negative chatter about Jared. But was it true? This is exactly what I needed, Jared muttered, rolling his eyes. First, your big mouth shows up, and now this? That's no way to greet family. Ava shot back, hands on her hips, eyes glimmering with mischief. Sarah stepped back, dragging Jackson with her, their hands intertwined as they watched the exchanges unravel. For a moment, Jackson felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. Ava's entrance was like a wild card thrown into a high-stakes game. Anything could happen now. I could have sworn this was an engagement party. Where's the joy? She continued, ignoring Jared's bitterness. Come on, everyone. Let us celebrate. Jackson glanced at Sarah, who seemed taken aback by the sudden shift in atmosphere. It feels tenser than ever, she said, uncertainty etched on her face. Maybe it's a good thing. She asked, drawing attention away from everything, he replied, squeezing her hand tighter. But with every cheer that erupted from the crowd, Jackson felt a swell of anxiety clawing at his insides. Their moment of confrontation had just been eclipsed by unpredictability. There was so much unresolved tension between him and Jared, and now they'd added a wild card to the deck. Are you ready for this? He asked Sarah, uncertainty pooling in his stomach. I think I have to be, she replied, the corners of her mouth lifting into a hesitant smile. Still, her eyes mirrored the storm brewing inside him. With laughter and music pouring from the new party center, they now faced an unknown territory fraught with lingering history and new revelations. Just one question, Jackson thought, his heart pounding. What kind of chaos could Ava possibly bring into their lives tonight? As he took a breath, preparing himself for whatever unfolded next, he realized they had just stepped into the first act of a story that might rewrite everything they thought they knew about each other. Hope and fear wrestled within him. What connections would unfold tonight? Would they finally uncover the elusive truths holding them captive? The music pulsed through the room, a driving beat that sent the crowd into an energetic whirl. Jackson felt himself being swept up in the excitement, even as a part of him stayed cautious, more attuned to the current undercurrents of unspoken animosities. Ava's presence radiated light, drawing laughter and responses from friends and acquaintances who suddenly thrived on the spectacle she created. I can't believe Jared let you come here, someone chuckled, their eyes glinting with laughter. Jackson couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief in that moment. How had Ava managed to waltz into a situation that had the weight of a collective secret hanging overhead? And why wouldn't he? I've missed all this tension, Ava replied, flashing a mischievous grin as she glanced over her shoulder at Jared, who tried to suppress a frown. Sarah leaned closer to Jackson, whispering, I never realized an engagement party could turn into such a circus. Maybe that's what we needed? Jackson replied softly, unsure. The thrill of Ava had spurred up an unexpected possibility of revelry, but he still felt the shadows of doubt looming. Ava spun around, extending her arms as if inviting everyone to the dance floor. The laughter shifted from polite to genuine, and for a moment, the air felt lighter. Jackson felt Sarah relax beside him. Perhaps Ava really could transform the energy of the night. Come on! Ava shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos. Dance with me! We're celebrating, right? I'm not sure that's how parties work, Jared grumbled, crossing his arms. But Jackson could see, beneath his gruff exterior, the twitch of amusement. As Ava danced, drawing people toward her like moths to a flame, Jackson felt a pull. Something about her took him back to simpler days when life was filled with laughter and possibility. When he saw her throw her head back, laughing freely, it reminded him of summer nights spent under the stars, where dreams felt within reach. Should we? Sarah asked, glancing at him, her eyes wide with apprehension. There's no harm in joining, is there? Jackson's heart raced, the thrill of the unexpected igniting something deep within him. Maybe it was time to put aside the worries, even just for a moment. They stepped onto the dance floor, swaying to the rhythm that surrounded them. Jackson caught snippets of laughter and chatter floating above the music, the collective joy almost intoxicating. But in the back of his mind, he still felt that knot of anxiety. What about Jared? The tension that had practically crackled between them still lingered like smoke. And here was Ava, playing the carefree spirit, while the rest of them hovered in the shadows. As Jackson spun Sarah, he caught Jared's eye from across the room. Something flickered there, a rush of emotions that seemed almost revealed but pulled back as quickly as it came. Maybe it was the confusion of family dynamics, or Jared's desire for something deeper that he was keeping buried. Nice move, Ava called out to them, her laughter infectious. But just when the night felt like it might finally come together, the front door swung open, and a new figure stepped inside, drawing gasps. Jackson swallowed hard and felt his heart sink. The unmistakable silhouette belonged to Lena, the ex-storm brewing just as the celebration seemed poised to erupt. What is she doing here? Sarah whispered, her voice trembling with surprise. I don't know, Jackson murmured, feeling the chill run down his spine. Ava's laughter faded and the atmosphere jolted. Tension roared back to life, like a sudden winter wind cutting through warmth. What confrontation awaited them now? With his heart drumming in his ears, Jackson braced for impact. This night was about to change in ways he couldn't even fathom again. Lena stepped into the room, her presence commanding attention like a spotlight illuminating a stage. That familiar ache hit Jackson hard in the gut. She hadn't changed much, though her confidence now seemed sharper, a blade honed by time and experience. The crowd hesitated, whispers darting across the space like fireflies in the dark. What does she want? Sarah's voice was small, barely breaking through the silence that enveloped them. Jackson could almost feel the collective heartbeat of the party stall, everyone waiting for something, anything to happen. Ava, usually the life of the party, fell still like a deer caught in headlights. The laughter she had summoned moments ago felt like a distant memory. For a heartbeat, Jackson saw a flicker of challenge flash in her eyes. Was she ready to protect this bubble of joy she had created, or would she back down like the rest of them? Hey! Lena's voice rang out, bold and cutting through the tension. She locked eyes with Jared, and Jackson could feel the weight of an unresolved history settle back on them. Jared's posture stiffened, his earlier amusement replaced by a tightness that spoke of old wounds. What do you want, Lena? He replied, his tone low, steady like a coiled spring. Jackson stepped back, wanting to fade into the background. The awkwardness was thick, a palpable weight pressing down on him. He glanced at Sarah, whose eyes darted between him and Lena, a mixture of confusion and concern etched across her features. Lena smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Oh, I just wanted to stop by and see how my favorite ex is doing. Seems like you threw quite the party here. She motioned around, her gaze flicking over the crowd, the vibrant energy dimming as she spoke. The way she shifted the focus sent chills down Jackson's spine. Here was chaos incarnate, stepping between them like a sneak thief in the night. Discomfort rippled through the crowd, a wave of uncertainty crashing over the warm embrace of the dance floor moments before. Suddenly, Jackson felt a surge of anger at the situation. What good was this night if it were marred by the ghosts of their past? He stepped forward, feeling his heart thump louder. Lena, this isn't the time or place. The words came out sharper than he intended, but he needed to defend the space that was meant for celebration, not confrontation. Lena turned her head slowly, surprise shimmering in her eyes. Jackson, right? She seemed momentarily taken aback. You've got some nerve stepping up for Jared. Someone has to, he shot back, the protective instinct rising within him. Jared shot him a look, half grateful, half surprised. It was a strange bond forming, a silent agreement that they needed to take a stand against this unwelcome intrusion. Guys, let us just let it go, Sarah whispered, nudging Jackson gently. It's supposed to be fun. But the fun had slipped through their fingers, replaced by an unsettling undercurrent shifting the room's energy. Jackson felt the heartache of their past mix with fresh anger, and he hated how it shattered the joyful atmosphere Ava had built. Do you really think you can come here, ruin everything and just flaunt your presence? Jared's voice cracked with intensity. Behind the tension, something deeper pulsed, an unfinished conversation brewing beneath the surface. Jackson glanced around, searching for Ava, but her usual light was flickering. She stood awkwardly, caught between her love for the festivities she had ignited and the shadows that were creeping back in. Just then, the music shifted, a slow ballad taking over from the upbeat tunes. It paired with the rising tension, layering the air with conflicting energy. Let us take this outside, Jared stated quietly, but firmly. The suggestion rippled through the crowd, as everyone held their breath, uncertain of what would unfold. Jackson felt his heart pounding harder, a stark sense of impending confrontation hanging over them all. What's really going on? He wondered, gripping onto the moment as if it were a lifeline. And as they moved towards the door, the uncertainty loomed above them like an approaching storm. Would this confrontation bring clarity or just add to the chaos? Jackson was about to find out. Outside, the chill of the night air wrapped around them, a stark contrast to the warmth of the party inside. Jackson stood among the small group gathered at the entrance, his breath puffing into the air like smoke from a smoldering fire. The world felt tense, solid, as if time had paused for the fleeting moment before a big storm. Lena leaned casually against the wall, a smirk playfully dancing on her lips. Jackson couldn't help but think how everything about her was calculated, her stance, her expressions. She had always been like this, wielding her charm like a weapon. Let us settle this peacefully, okay? Jared's voice broke through the tension, a desperate attempt to keep the peace that he feared could crumble quickly. We didn't invite you here to create drama. Lena laughed lightly, but it dripped with sarcasm. And who's to say I wouldn't want a little chaos? Seems you're all clinging to your happiness so easily. It's almost adorable. Can we focus? Jackson interrupted, stepping between them, feeling the heat of the moment rise. What do you want from us, Lena? You show up after years and bring this shadow over what should be a night of joy. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of amusement, and amusement at his passion. I just wanted to see how my past was doing. Simple curiosity. But the words dripped with insincerity. Curiosity? Jared stepped closer, fists clenched at his sides. You know exactly what you're doing. Enough. Ava's earnest voice cut through the tension. She had followed them outside, her face a mask of concern. This isn't what tonight is supposed to be about. We should be celebrating. Lena glanced over at Ava, and Jackson felt the air shift, a momentary vulnerability crossing Lena's face before vanishing back into that practiced bravado. Celebrating? What a joke. Maybe what you don't understand, Ava said firmly, is that we're finally past you, past all of this. Jackson's heart raced. Was this the moment they would finally break the cycle? Would Ava stand her ground against Lena? He held his breath, filled with hope. Lena's eyes narrowed, almost calculating, as if she was evaluating her next move. You really think you can erase everything I've brought into your lives? You think this is just about one night? It's about moving on, Jackson replied, every word embodying determination. You don't get to hijack our happiness. We deserve to have a night where we feel free from the ghosts of the past. Lena's smirk faded, replaced by a genuine flicker of annoyance. You'll regret underestimating me. There was something more in her tone, a chill that crept down Jackson's spine. Regret? Jared's laugh was bitter. What have you even brought to this group but questions and doubt? We have each other now. You're just an afterthought. An afterthought, Lena pondered, then tilted her head slightly, her expression shifting to something more menacing. You all seem so sure of this bond, but what happens when you start doubting? Jackson felt fear creep in, like an unwelcome chill that numbed him. But he couldn't back down now. Ava stood at the front line, her spirit like a beacon amidst the encroaching shadows. Together we'll always find our way, Jackson said, locking eyes with Ava. The tension spiraled, hanging thick in the air, and Jackson couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something crucial. What if I'm the one who holds the key to your fates? Lena challenged, a sly smile slowly creeping back. His heart raced as he exchanged glances with Jared and Ava, uncertainty pooling in his stomach. Jackson felt the walls closing in as it dawned on him, were they truly ready for what Lena might unleash next? The night had just begun to unravel, and Jackson braced himself for whatever storm would follow. Little did he know, the stakes were about to get much higher. A sudden gust of wind whipped through the alley, cutting through the tension like a knife. Jackson pulled his coat tighter around him, shivering. Lena's presence felt like an impending thunderstorm, electric and chaotic. He looked at Ava, her eyes wide yet determined. It was clear they had to act. Let us just go back inside, Jared suggested, his voice shaky. This isn't worth it. But Jackson could sense that it was precisely worth it. Lena was challenging everything they'd built. No, Jackson said firmly. He was done letting Lena dictate the narrative. We're not backing down. Not tonight. A flicker of surprise crossed Lena's face, and for a moment, she looked almost vulnerable. How quickly that faded into a more calculating gaze, as if she enjoyed this game more than they realized. Do you really think you can silence me? She mused, her laughter echoing eerily against the brick walls. You think this little reunion will just sweep our past under the rug? Maybe you should try it sometime, Ava shot back, stepping forward. We're tired of your drama. This is our moment. The crowd inside the party continued to pulse with laughter and music, obliviously ignoring the brewing storm outside. Jackson wanted to believe that they could drown out Lena's influence, but her words twisted like vines around his thoughts, reminding him of secrets and doubts he thought he'd buried. What if I told you everything's on the line because of me? Lena said, her voice dropping. The smugness vanished, replaced by something darker. Would you still stand so tall? What do you mean? Jared asked, his brows knitting together in confusion. Let us just say, Lena replied, her eyes gleaming, there are things you don't even know. Secrets that could unravel everything. Jackson felt a rush of anger. You're just trying to scare us. This is about us, not you. But as he spoke, doubt began to gnaw at the edges of his confidence. Is it? She stepped closer, the shadows dancing along her face. What if I told you that all your happy little lives are based on lies and half-truths? Ava took a breath, collecting herself. Lena, we will not let you get to us. You have no power here. Jackson could see the flicker of uncertainty behind that bravado. Maybe they could withstand her barrage if they stood united. Power? Lena chuckled, a low and haunting sound. My dear Ava, power isn't what you think it is. It's about influence. And I have all the power I need. The words hung in the air, dense and heavy. Jackson looked to his friends. What does that even mean? What are you planning? Let us just say, she said, there's a reason why the past resurfaces at the worst moments. My influence is woven into your histories, your fates. What the hell does that mean? Jared's voice rose in frustration. Lena only smiled, a wicked, triumphant look on her face. You'll find out soon enough. Jackson felt a shiver run down his spine. What had they ever really known about Lena? As much as they wanted her behind them, she was now a part of their story, and that realization felt weighty, terrifying. What's your end game, Lena? He pressed. If you really want to see us happy, then why show up now? Ah, that's where you're wrong. I never cared about your happiness, she replied, her tones switching to icy. But I do care about making sure you all remember I exist. Jackson glanced at Ava and Jared, the camaraderie they'd built feeling as fragile as glass. They had to protect what they fought for. As Jackson stared into Lena's piercing gaze, he felt the urgency rise. "Together, we still have strength against you," he declared, the steadiness of his voice surprising even himself. Lena stepped back, her smirk returning. "Maybe. But there's a storm coming, and I'll be the one steering the ship." The vibrant lights of the party flickered against the dark night. In the distance, thunder rumbled, a sign of the chaos yet to come. How far was Lena willing to go to prove her point? As they stood on the edge of confrontation, Jackson knew one thing for sure: they needed a plan, and fast. But sometimes, the best-laid plans fall apart when least expected. In that moment of uncertainty, Jackson's heart raced with a thought that scared him more than Lena's threats. What if the storm was already brewing inside them? What if the real battle was yet to come? And in the simmering silence, he wondered, were they truly ready to face the fallout from the truths Lena would unveil? With the past threatening to creep out from beneath their feet, the question became crystal clear: could they withstand the revelations that awaited just beyond the horizon? The rain began to drizzle, a soft patter that quickly escalated into a downpour. Jackson felt the first drops splash against his face, mingling with the tension that hung in the air. The alley, once a refuge, now felt claustrophobic, as if Lena's dark presence was closing in on all sides. He could see the harsh glare of streetlights reflect off the ground, their dull light barely illuminating the chaos around them. Ava stepped closer to Jackson, her voice low. "We can't let her twist our stories. We've come too far." He appreciated her resolve, but Lena's words still rattled in his mind, a relentless echo. Their histories were not as clean-cut as they wished to believe. "Maybe we should just leave," Jared murmured, glancing back towards the warmth and laughter of the party. "This is getting out of hand." "No!" Jackson snapped, surprising even himself. "We can't allow her to control this moment. Not like we have in the past." "Control?" Lena interjected, a smile creeping to her lips. "Oh, but don't you see? I'm not interested in control. I want the truth to come out, and I know exactly how to draw it out. All of you are one truth away from spilling everything." "What does that even mean?" Jackson shot back, his nerves fraying as thunder rolled ominously overhead. "What do you think you can do?" Lena tilted her head, her expression almost playful. "Let's just say that I have a knack for uncovering things. Things that you all have tried so hard to hide." The weight of her words hit Jackson like a punch to the gut. Could their past really unravel them? As the rain poured down, he could feel the panic rise within him, threatening to sabotage everything they had fought for. "Is your plan to drag us into the mud, Lena? To tear apart what we've built?" Ava asked defiantly, though a tremor betrayed her. "No, sweet Ava. I want you to see it for yourselves. You think you know your own realities, but there are shadows lurking, truths intertwined with your lives that you can't possibly fathom." Jackson clenched his fists, the rain stinging his skin. "We're not afraid of you," he shouted back, trying to summon every ounce of courage he could muster. "Ah, but are you afraid of yourselves?" Lena's words sliced through the air like the crack of lightning. "What happens when the truth comes crashing down, and you're left holding the pieces?" Desperate to regain control, Jackson turned to his friends. "We have to stick together. Whatever she is saying, we can face it." But even as he tried to rally them, doubt loomed dangerously close. How could they stand united when their own truths felt like blades at their throats? Ava's voice trembled as she spoke. "What if Lena's right? What if we are living a lie?" "No," Jackson replied, forcing himself to remain steady. "We've fought too hard for this. Look at how far we've come." But in that moment, a flicker of hesitation crept into their hearts, the uncertainty palpable. The darkness of the alley seemed to pulse, drawing them in with every word Lena uttered. Lena's laughter danced in the raindrops, taunting and thrilling at the same time. "You think that by turning away from the truth you can dismiss me? I'll always be here, shadowing every decision you make." The atmosphere shifted, the weight of her presence lingering like a ghost. Jackson felt an urge to convince himself and them that they weren't afraid, but a gnawing fear slipped through the cracks. Then, in a sudden moment of clarity, he locked eyes with each of his friends. We have to face this together. There's strength in our bond, even if our past has skeletons we haven't dealt with. As he spoke, a low rumble of thunder broke the unsettling quiet that had settled around them. It was a reminder that the storm outside mirrored the one brewing within. But just when Jackson thought they could rally, Lena's expression shifted to one of sly victory. Don't worry, sweet friends. The truth always comes out, and it's just a matter of time before you're forced to confront it. Jackson's heart pounded in his chest. They were running out of time. Could they really stand together against whatever revelation Lena had in store for them? As the downpour intensified, he breathed in deeply, preparing for the inevitable. Would their friendship survive the storm that was about to break? And deep down, as the chaos unfolded, Jackson concluded there was only one question that truly mattered now: what truths would come to light when the rain finally stopped pouring? The rain was relentless now, a torrential downpour that matched the storm of emotions swirling inside Jackson. He felt the chill seep into his bones, but it was nothing compared to the turmoil brewing in his heart. Gritting his teeth, he faced Lena, determination flowing through him like a rush of adrenaline. This was it. They had to break the cycle of fear she cultivated, or risk being trapped forever. Listen, Jackson said, voice rising above the rain, we're done living in your shadow. You think you hold some power over us, but we've got something you can't extinguish: solidarity and truth. Lena stepped forward, amusement dancing in her eyes. Solidarity? It's an illusion, Jackson. What happens when it all crumbles? When the weight of your lies crushes you? Enough! Shouted Jared, stepping toward Lena, his frustration palpable. You don't get to dictate our lives anymore. The past is just that, the past. We're moving forward. Moving forward? Lena echoed, her tone ironic. You really think you can leave me behind? I'm woven into the very fabric of your stories. Wait until you see what I've kept hidden. Stop hiding behind your words, Lena, and show us what you're really capable of. Ava jumped in, her voice steadying as she stepped up to Jackson's side. If there are truths, let us face them. Together. It was a bold action, and Jackson felt a surge of pride for her willingness to stand strong. The rain fell in sheets, soaking them to the core, but it also felt like a cleansing and acknowledgement of their fears and resolve. Jackson felt emboldened by their unity, recognizing the invisible thread that had always connected them. They weren't just facing Lena, they were confronting their own hesitation. Fine. Lena spat, her gaze hardened. You want to face truths? Let us bring them to light. She stepped aside, gesturing as if conjuring a stage where every skeleton could dance. You had enough of my past, but how about yours? At that moment, a ringing silence fell. The downpour drastically slowed, allowing the echo of her words to linger. Jackson's heart raced. What do you mean by that? He dared to ask, his voice steady despite the fear pooling in his stomach. A sly smile crept onto Lena's lips as she took a deep breath. Let us start with you, Jackson. You think your past as a recycling technician makes you purely noble? Your struggles, your choices, they shaped your path. But what if they're more complicated than you realize? The question hung in the air as Jackson felt a rush of doubt. Had he really confronted himself fully? But guess what? Lena continued, reveling in their unease. No one is as clean as they appear. Not even you, Sarah. Jackson turned sharply to Sarah, who flinched at Lena's words. Jackson's protective instincts flared. Don't let her get to you, he urged, but her silence spoke volumes. What if we dig deeper? Lena taunted, sensing weakness. What if your dreams weren't so innocent? What if you both made choices that led to regret? Shut up! Jared yelled, fists clenched as tension crackled in the air. With every insult, Jackson felt the collective strength rise among them. They weren't defined by their past, rather, it shaped them into who they were, separate from Lena's expectations. You think this is power? Ava said, her voice a steady anchor in the storm. True strength is standing together, and confronting fear. Then bring it on, Jackson barked, the fire inside him roaring. We're not backing down. You can twist words and allegations, but we hold the truth between us. That's what will prevail. Lena's smile faltered for a moment, surprise flickering in her eyes. It was a crack in her facade. The truth, they all realized, had always been theirs to own, to shape into something meaningful. Framing their unity, the harsh downpour transformed to a soft rain, basking the allies in a joint moment of clarity. Jackson looked at Sarah, then at Jared and Ava, feeling lightness return to his heart. They could weather this storm, not only of rain but of the past that still haunted them. Let us close this chapter, Jackson said, determination in every syllable. Tonight is about moving forward together. It's not about rewriting history, it's about accepting it. So you can leave now or you can stay and see our strength in every truth that rises from this night. Brief silence smothered the alley, Lena's rage dissolving in the steadfast resolve of their bond. She faltered, and Jackson saw the cracks in her armor widen. Maybe it was true, after all there was ferocity in vulnerability. Fine, Lena spat, voice low and stinging, until next time. Enjoy your little fairy tale. With a whip of her hair, she turned sharply and walked away into the night, leaving behind the tension that hung like storm clouds. Jackson released the breath he didn't realize he was holding. He faced the group still standing together, feeling the warmth of their connection wrap around him. Are we truly okay? Sarah whispered, the vulnerability seeping back into her voice. Can we really move on? Ava stepped closer. We are, she insisted, swiping her tears away despite the flooding rain. This is a new page, and it starts with us. The rhythm of a new beat began somewhere in the distance. Jackson pulled Sarah into an embrace, squeezing tightly. This is our time, he whispered, to let go, heal, and build something real. As the rain lightened to a gentle mist, the vibrant lights of the party glowed in the background. Tonight, a storm had swept through their lives, but it had also cleared a way for something fresh and vibrant to emerge. With newfound strength, they stepped back into the celebration, hearts buoyed by the knowledge they could face whatever came next together. It was an end, but more importantly, it was the beginning of their true transformation, where honest connections could flourish. And in that truth, hopes and horizons awaited, brighter than the dark past they had left behind. So remember, dear friends, in moments of pressure we are capable of more than we realize. Let your voices ring loud and true, and always fight for your truth. And as we wrap this transformative adventure up, let me just say, you need to subscribe now to our channel so you won't miss any future stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and support content that matters. Comment below your thoughts on this intense conclusion and how you felt during this journey. And don't wait not even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this transformation. Let us spread the hope together.